and thanks for tuning in to the Gentleman Badass podcast. My name is Josh Kidney. With me, as always, Mick Doyle. Mick, how are you today?
I am great.
Excellent. Well, today we thought we would take some time and give you a little insight into the hosts of the Gentleman Badass podcast. So I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, so you may be asking yourself, why should I listen to these guys? Hopefully after this episode, we'll give you a couple good answers why to listen, and then also give you an idea of what we're looking to accomplish with this podcast. So first, we're going to start out with Mick. So I'm going to give you a little bit of Mick's highlight reel so you have a real clear idea of what we're working with. So number one, two-time world champion Muay Thai fighter. Number two, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Number three, coach. And Mick has coached more than 40 young fighters into becoming Muay Thai national champions, and that's more than any other coach in the USA. Isn't that correct?
Yep.
Correct. And then beyond that, Mick has worked with UFC superstar Conor McGregor. He's worked with Gunnar Nelson. He's worked with a guy who's starting to make headlines, potentially challenging John Jones for the light heavyweight title in the UFC, Anthony Lionheart Smith, among many, many others. So in about 4 bullet points in 60 seconds, I think that's a couple good reasons to pay attention. Honestly, if Conor McGregor's calling up and saying, Mick, let's train, then I imagine there's probably some stuff that you could teach us mere earthlings as well.
I hope.
So let's go ahead and start with you, Mick. Irish accent, fading Irish accent from what I understand, but let's go ahead and start there in Ireland. What's the story there? Why did you decide to come to the United States, and what did that process look like?
Well, probably the process started when I was very young. I first got into boxing. First of all, I think I started boxing when I was like 5 or 6, and but my dad felt that boxing wasn't giving me the discipline that I needed. So that was kind of the catalyst that led me to martial arts, because he felt like martial arts could give me a little more discipline. He used to be a martial artist, and so switched over to martial arts when I was about 7. Turned professional when I was 15, which was a year younger than I was legally supposed to. But I'd basically already fought everybody that I could fight in Ireland, England, Wales, that were kind of my age, my weight. So made the transition to turning pro, and fought for many years over there, was undefeated, traveling to mostly actually to France and Holland and Manchester, England for fights. And but when I graduated high school, I graduated high school in like 1985. At that time, Ireland was in a massive recession. I think like 1 out of every 9 people were unemployed, and certainly young people coming out of school with no job history. We weren't looking at a great bright future. So like many of us did at that time, emigrating was a viable option. I originally was thinking about going to France or Germany. I spoke French. I thought it would be good for my fighting career to be there too. And then I had an aunt and uncle that actually lived in Nebraska. My dad's sister married an airman that she met in Germany. And through the course of his Air Force career, he ended up here at Offutt Air Force Base in Bellevue, retired, but they settled there. They were over visiting, knew that I had wanted to go to college, but came from a very poor family. We couldn't afford it. And just in a chance meeting the summer after I graduated, or right after my national exams, he said, hey, would you not think about moving to America? And we'll sponsor you for your student visa. So kind of the whole France thing kind of went out the window. In France, I didn't know anybody other than people in the fight community. Here, didn't have a language barrier, had a place to live, somebody to sponsor me for my student visa, and that was that. The decision was made.
So I think I've heard you say that the actual decision, the actual action that took place was at waiting for a bus is when you, tell us that story.
So, my uncle had got me a job on a construction site in Ireland. And most of the construction jobs, you knew that they might last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you know. I was a pretty hard worker, so after my first 6 week stint, they put me on another job, so that was about 8 weeks. And I'd worked a bank holiday over there, which like the national holiday. So when you do work those, you get paid double time. And so I pick up this check after working a bank holiday, and at the time, it's the most amount of money I've ever made. I mean, we're only talking like maybe $400 or something like that, but it was a lot of money to me. And I didn't even have a bank account, so I went to the bank, I cashed my check, I have this cash, and I'm walking towards my bus stop to get back to my parents' house, and I pass a travel agent, and they have in there fares to New York on a special. And I'd remembered what days my aunt and uncle, who were actually over the time visiting again, were going back. Back then, I think there was one flight out of Dublin to New York a day, so you just had to know what day they were leaving. Went into the travel agent, put the cash down, and said, I'm going to America. So I bought the ticket, stared at it on the bus all the way home going, fuck, I can't believe I'm after doing this. And then I had to break the news to my parents. And they knew that I was entertaining the idea, but like nothing really concrete had been done. So we used to pretty much eat dinner as a family every night. And so at dinner, I said to my parents, I'm like, hey, so, you guys know I've been thinking about emigrating and thinking about going back with Anna Mac. And so I'm going to do it. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that's nice, And I was like, no, I bought the ticket. And my mom's like, oh, okay, that's nice. And so I whipped this ticket out and she just loses her shit. So that was it. Like, it was literally I'm walking by a travel agent and I decided, fuck it, there's just nothing here for me. Like, I don't want to keep wondering if I'm going to have a job, and I can't go to college over there. It's just too expensive. So I pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah. Okay. So then you take that flight, you end up in the United States. And I think there was another story that you told about one of your first nights or maybe the very first day.
Awful.
In the United States. What? Tell us that.
Well, honestly, the first month here was like awful. So I land in New York, and it's December 6th, 1986. It's a massive snowstorm. We don't get snow in Ireland. I mean, if we get an inch, it's like the whole country shuts down. And so I'm fascinated by, a foot or two of snow on the ground. Everything is grounded. Flights are all grounded. So back then, if you had a flight that was canceled due to weather, the airlines used to put you in hotels. So my aunt and uncle got a hotel. My plan originally was I was going to see New York and then Greyhound it down through the country and just kind of see some of America and just take 4 days or something and make my way down here. So we go to their hotel and I'm thinking, well, great, I'll get to spend the night here with them one more, and then I'll head to the Greyhound station back in New York tomorrow. So I've never seen snow like this, never seen huge skyscrapers, and I'm thinking I'm going to go out and I want to check this place out. So my uncle's like, well, actually they'd moved us over to LaGuardia Airport. That's where they were going to fly out the next day. So the hotel was somewhere over there. So I tell my uncle, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go out for a walkabout. And he's like, I don't know if I'd really do that. It's like, this isn't the best neighborhood in the world. And I was like, please, I grew up in Dublin. Like, I grew up in the toughest neighborhood in Dublin. I'm like, don't worry, I got this. So I didn't even have clothes to be wearing out in the snow, but I was just fascinated. So I take off walking, and I'm looking up most of the time at just the buildings and the architecture, and I completely get lost. Like, I haven't really got my bearings and just fascinated with everything. And so I'm lost in New York. It's a snowstorm, and I almost get mugged. This is all like within hours of landing. So every every cliche movie that I've ever seen about New York is happening to me. Long story short, I saw this guy checking me out, following me. And so I'm doing all the things that I've been trained to. I cross over the street. He crosses with me. I switch back. He switched back. And I'm like, oh, you fucking kidding me? Like, so I dip down this alleyway and I hide behind a dumpster, behind a restaurant. And I can still remember this. I reach into this dumpster and I grab this head of lettuce. And I set it on the top of the dumpster so that the lid of the dumpster is resting on this head of lettuce. So I can look out behind this dumpster, I can see if this guy's coming towards me. So he rounds the corner. He's kind of looking around and he opens his coat. Now it's like winter time. Like only idiots like me who's not dressed for winter has their jackets open. And I'm like, and I look and I can see my footprints in the snow all the way from where I've left that corner all the way down to the dumpster. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, what do I do? Do I run? So this guy starts walking towards the dumpster and he gets about probably 6 feet away and I'm like, fuck it. So I jump out and I just deck this guy, just slam him hard, hit him, one punch, he's out cold. And then I panic and I'm like, fuck, what if I killed him? So I take off running. Again, I'm lost. So now I'm running more lost and wandered around New York for about a couple of hours till I finally start to recognize some things, make my way back to the hotel. My aunt and uncle are freaking out at this point because this is before everyone had cell phones and stuff like that where you could check in. So I get in the door, I'm freezing, I'm soaking wet, my adrenaline's going crazy. I may have just killed somebody. And I said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to Omaha with you guys tomorrow morning. So this is all the first 24 hours. And then I come to Omaha. I get started in school right away. And the first 2 weeks of college, I get into a couple of fights. Now, I grew up in the toughest part of Dublin, in this area called Ballymun. And I think maybe growing up, I had like 1 or 2 fights. I'm in the United States less than a month, and I'm already putting hands on people. And I'm thinking, man, is this how this is going to fucking be? Like, I'm like, I guess I'm keeping my fighting skills sharp, but this isn't the way I wanted to do it. So yeah, it was like, I was homesick too. I just turned 18. I'm moving away from home, get into a couple of fights. Everything is just new and strange. And so, yeah, the first month was like, it wasn't a cool time in my life.
Crazy.
Oh.
So you, from what it sounds like, you've really been into fitness, into martial arts your whole life, like as a young kid. Even I think we've talked, you started with soccer even before martial arts, right?
Yeah. I mean, most kids in Ireland, you typically play soccer. I did well in school, but I didn't like school. So I quickly realized that the more sports I was involved in school, the more lessons I could miss. So I played for the soccer team, the Gaelic football team, the field hockey team. I did track. I mean, if they'd have had like javelin or anything else,
ribbon dancing.
I did Irish dancing. I actually have an All-Ireland medal for Irish dancing. We did this sloga competition. So yeah, if it could get me out of class and it was something I enjoyed doing, I was all over it. So I became a certified personal trainer when I was 15 in Ireland. So I kind of knew that this was the path. Well, I hoped that this was the path that my life would be on. And I just tried to do everything I could early on to kind of make that a reality.
So that's interesting because my life is very much different.
Yeah, right.
I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, and then we moved to small town, like really like 350 people small. Lived in small town, Nebraska, moved to a slightly larger small town. And then when I graduated from high school, I came back to Omaha for college. And when I say college, I really came to Omaha to start a band, because when I was a sophomore in high school, I used to, do track, baseball, basketball. I used to do everything. But sophomore year of high school, I was like, screw this. The only thing I want to do with my life is play guitar. So I quit all sports and I just started playing guitar. And that was when I came to Omaha. I went to college. I applied to one college and I got in because I knew I was going to go. But the only reason I went there was to meet guys and start a band. And so after the first year, I dropped out, started that band shortly thereafter, and then we went on to hit it pretty hard. We were together for probably 8 years, and in that time, we signed a booking and management deal out of Nashville. We toured all over the country. I think we hit like 32 different states. Recorded a couple albums.
What was the name of the band?
The name of the band was Fate of Angels. I never liked the name, but I was outvoted on that.
Is there stuff online that people
There
can
is
go
actually,
find?
yeah, and I'm still proud of that album. It's still on iTunes, on Spotify. I really like the album is called The Morning Light. Really like that. So we did that for a while, and I loved it. But to finance that album that I'm talking about, it was like a $20,000 album. I got a job as a stockbroker and an investment advisor. I kind of lucked into it. There was the bass player for another band ended up being a manager at this brokerage firm that I applied at, and so he gave me a recommendation. I had to interview well, but I ended up getting the job, and I didn't love it, but it was good paying. And so I did it for a couple years. And then when we had the opportunity to go on the road full time, I quit that job. And so we went on the road full time. The only problem is this was 2008, and it was right in the middle of the worst recession since the Great Depression. And so all the money dried up. Gas prices were like, I didn't realize that there's like $100 limit on a fuel pump. So I would swipe my card and I'd put in $100 worth of gas and it wouldn't even fill up the van. I'd have to swipe my card again to fill up the van. And then on top of crazy fuel prices, the promoters didn't have money and people weren't paying to go for shows. So really the stress of that and a bunch of other things, I ended up pulling the plug on the band, and that was in 2009. And I was just like, the guys were really upset with me because they weren't ready to quite do that. I felt like I was kind of ruining their lives by dragging them along on this thing. And I just, it was not a great time in my life. And so I ended up going back to this job as a stockbroker and investment advisor because it was the best job available. They took me back, and I did that for several years. And, I had to give up on my dream. I was living my dream in the band, and when I gave up on it, it just kind of destroyed me inside. And, I tried to work hard at the job. I tried to do really well, but I was just miserable. And so the day I turned 29, I realized I'm fat, I'm miserable, I'm out of shape. Like, I need to change my life. I can't turn 30 and feel the same way that I feel right now. So what can I do? I really didn't know what to do other than I was fat. So, okay, I'm going to lose some weight. And so that was the first step. I ended up on my birthday, or the day after my birthday, I went on a diet and I lost 30 pounds. And then once I got skinny, I was like, well, I'm skinny now, but I should probably be in shape. And a buddy of mine had said Mick Doyle's gym had the hardest workouts in town. So I hopped on over, signed up with a trainer, and started training. Yeah, the workouts were hard, but the bonus is they came with, you could take any of the classes. So Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, boxing. And so I started training Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu like all the time. I ended up gravitating more to Jiu-Jitsu, but I enjoyed them both. And through that process, kind of helped me develop the warrior mindset, right? So the guy I was before, if something was difficult or I didn't enjoy it, I just didn't do it. I was lazy. I quit things. And so developing that warrior mindset and kind of pushing through the pain and the discomfort and all of that, it really started to change my life outside of the gym, right?
Yeah.
And so, I started performing better at work, but then I also realized, like, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so it also helped me develop the courage to eventually leave that job. I became a personal trainer myself, had a couple different other businesses. But I guess what all that to say is, with this podcast, the people I'm hoping to reach are the people who are like me, that might just be a steaming pile of human that's not really doing anything with their life, and might not know which direction to go, might just need that nudge to get out there and do that, and just to encourage them and say it's a lot better on this side. It's there's pain involved, it's difficult, but it's better. And so that's number one for my goal for this podcast, but also number two, like the warrior mindset and growing as a man and just an individual and human. There's no pinnacle that you reach, right? It's a constant process, and through that process, this podcast, we're going to have the access to some really interesting guests that I think I'll be able to learn a lot from. And so, selfishly, I'm looking forward to talking to these people and learning from them so that I can continue growing on my path. So that's kind of my background in a nutshell, and then what I'm looking to accomplish. What would you say some of your goals for the podcast are?
Think even though I've been doing this my whole life, like I've never lost sight of the fact that like struggle is good. Struggle makes you hard. It makes you tough. It makes you a better person. Certainly the gym, what we do in the gym, pushing ourselves daily, and even the kind of kinship and tribe that you develop in a gym is something that not everybody is going to be into. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but there's something kind of inherently beautiful about the physical struggle, whether it's to lose 30 pounds or get better at jiu-jitsu, suck less, whatever it is that you're trying to do. The physical component of all of that is something that is life-changing. And people will say to me all the time, I get a client that comes in the gym, they need to lose 50 pounds, and you're like, oh, come on, you can do it. And they look at me like, yeah, fuck you, you've never been out of shape. Yeah, you're right, I've never been out of shape. You're right, I don't know, but I know the benefit of being in shape. I know how good it makes me feel, that I would never want to try being fat. There's nothing that it doesn't look appealing to me at all. So I hope that we can reach out to some people that are maybe on the fence or maybe just haven't fully committed to a healthy lifestyle, that we can bring about some knowledge to those folks, and some inspiration. And then also, I think on the broad level also, that there's, to me, as a person who emigrated here, there's something still very beautiful and real about the American dream, the American democracy, the process of all of that. My dad, when he was alive, he used to love to come to the gym, and he would just sit in the gym and just watch me train. And as we have some of the richest people in Omaha at our gym. Mm-hmm. But you would never know it other than the parking lot, looking at the cars that they drive. But once they're in there, they're just one of the guys or the girls. Like none of that stuff matters. It doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to us. And, my dad used to remind me that my gym is a little bit of what the image that we have as foreigners looking in at America to be, where you can mingle with people from different classes and shapes and colors, and like it doesn't fucking matter. Like we're all just in there doing something that is good for all of us. And I see some changes happening in this country that I don't think are great. Probably the one that kind of bothers me most is this kind of demasculization that seems to be going on, and that kind of concerns me. Like, what's wrong with being a guy? Like, what's wrong with doing guy stuff and still being a good husband or a good dad? And like, it's okay to do badass stuff and still have a productive life and be a decent human being. And so I hope that some of the things that we address in our podcast coming up kind of tote that line that, hey, we're going to have some badass guests who are very interesting, normal people that live normal lives, but, have this badass quality, badass hobby,
Yeah.
whatever
Do
it is.
extraordinary things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, one of the terms I hear a lot these days is toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
Bugs me like crazy, because I don't think it's toxic masculinity. I think it's actually a lack of true masculinity.
100%.
Right? Because if we're talking masculinity like you see in the movies, that's just a false representation of what it should be, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with being strong and shooting guns and whatnot, doing stuff that's considered quote unquote manly. I don't care if a man's doing that or a woman's doing that. It's perfectly fine for those things to take place. On the other hand, like you said, it's important to be able to balance that out, right? Like,
Right.
I want to be the type of guy who can cook dinner for my wife, take her out dancing, and then fight off the ninjas that come and try to assassinate me, right? And I don't think that even these people that are screaming toxic masculinity, I don't think that's something that they would disagree with. But if you try to totally take that away and don't allow boys to do boy things just because you think it's going to lead to bad things, like, I think you're just going to see the problems, compound.
Right. Obviously we're both musicians. I play Irish music. And it still blows me away that, people seem shocked that you and I are musicians. We have this like soft, gentle side to us, I sing songs about people dying, that have 50 verses in them, and typically most Irish ballads, somebody dies and somebody's lost love, and they're like, well, wait, you're not the same guy who was like rolling around on the mat, like trying to choke everybody in the gym. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the same guy. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, why should you be shocked? Like, to me, that's that's living that Bushido code that you on one level, you're capable of doing great harm or whatever to another human being, but on the other, you can soothe them and nurture them and take care of them, or, that shouldn't be a problem. Like, that should be something that all men should be striving for.
Yeah.
And I think the world would be a better place too.
Yeah.
For it.
I had similar issues. Like, we started hanging out with a new group of friends a couple years ago, and this was it wasn't when I was starting, but I was halfway through, but everybody knew I trained jiu-jitsu, right? And MMA, right? They hear that you train MMA, and then all of a sudden,
UFC.
Train UFC, bro. But it was funny because like a year into being friends with those folks, one of them came up and like, you are nothing like I thought you were going to be. I heard you did that MMA stuff, and I thought you were going to be like loud and rude and intense, and you're just you're none of that stuff. And
one of the greatest compliments that I kind of pat myself on the back with is when people meet me for the first time and I talk to them and they go, "Oh, you're Mick Doyle?" And I'm like, "What were you expecting? Like some 6 foot, 300-pound guy shooting fireballs out of my ass?" Like, like I'm just a guy who happens to do cool things, and I have a job that's fucking awesome and cool, but like why is that such? Why does that shock people? I don't quite understand it,
Yeah. Well, and hopefully we can change that. Well, we're not going to do it by ourselves, but hopefully we can kind of aid in changing that idea. And I think especially with jiu-jitsu, people are starting to figure it out that it's not like this crazy. Well, it's not karate, number one, and you're not being a ninja. It's something altogether different. It's just a way to. And you mentioned like the brotherhood and the family of the gym. Like, that was one thing that I didn't realize that I missed, right? So I had the band, and we were a brotherhood. It was a little bit different because we were trying to run a business together, and we all sucked at it. And so there was drama, and there was talking behind each other's backs, and there was all that crap that went on that always seems to go on. But once I didn't have that, once it was just kind of me and my wife, and I didn't have really any other guy friends that I was hanging out with, it was a big empty spot, and I didn't even realize it. And so when I started getting into the gym, and then you start doing jiu-jitsu with these guys, and there's a special bond that forms when you bleed together, if you will. When you're fighting and you're sore, and you're hanging out afterwards, like that's real. It just doesn't get any more real or raw than that. And so, there's guys in the gym that I only ever see in the gym that I consider some of my best friends, just because, they're part of that tribe. And I know that, if I got in trouble with the mob, like, and they put a contract out on my head, like I could call these guys up and they'd either go down with me or they'd fight for me. Right.
Right.
And I think a lot of guys are missing that as well.
Yeah.
And for me, I am not the most, like we were talking before, I'm not the most aggressive person, right? I've got some aggression in there. But when you don't have any type of physical outlet, like so many people do, so many people sit at the computer and, they're surfing the web, they're playing video games, they go to work, they're sitting all day at work, and then they come home and they're sitting all night at home. Like, when you don't have that physical outlet, it just kind of drives you crazy. It's kind of like taking a dog, right, and just locking them up in the house.
Yeah.
Eventually something's going to snap, right? And that's when you get a pit bull that attacks someone. And honestly, I think that's where you get a lot of those lone wolf attacks where guys are shooting up schools and stuff because they don't have that.
There's
community.
No connection with people, right?
There's really no reason to become a better human. They don't see that hope. Like, that was another thing that jiu-jitsu taught me was the growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who might not have heard of this concept, there's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. A fixed mindset says that if I'm not good at something immediately, I'll never be good at it. The growth mindset says, if I see something and I'm interested in it and I practice at it, I can get good at it, right? And that's really with anything within reason, right? If you're not, if you're 5'4", you're probably not going to play in the NBA, right? But you can get pretty dang good at basketball at 5'4 inches. So when I got into jiu-jitsu, I kind of relearned something I'd forgotten with that growth mindset. I had discovered it initially with guitar because nobody who picks up a guitar and plays guitar is going to be good right away. Joe Bonamassa was good probably a couple weeks after he started playing, but I'm sure the first time he had a guitar in
There's
his hands,
always the freaks, yeah.
But, nobody who picks up a guitar is going to be good. And I hear all the time, oh man, I wish I could learn how to play guitar. Oh, you must be so talented. No, I was terrible. I still remember thinking of that A chord and like, how am I going to get one finger to lay down over 3 strings and then miss that top string? Like, I still don't know how I figured it out, but I figured it out. And so when you learn how to use that growth mindset, it just blossoms into everything else in your life. And so I had learned that with guitar. I had forgotten it. And then I kind of relearned it with jiu-jitsu because nobody that goes into jiu-jitsu is going to be good at jiu-jitsu to start. A wrestler might have some idea of what to do.
Yep.
But when it comes to the regular Joe like me, you're going to walk into the class and you're just going to get dominated. There's no way around it, even if everyone else there is being super nice to you.
Well, that's the beauty of jiu-jitsu versus some of the other martial arts. Mm. A lot of the other martial arts, and I include boxing in that group too, at some point you have to develop into an athlete in order to get good. And if you don't, you're going to get crushed. But with jiu-jitsu, you can be a quasi-athlete and still be very good. You can be light and, small and still be dangerous. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of the other martial arts, at some point, your technique tops out and then it's a power athleticism game. Now, 2 high-level jiu-jitsu guys, everything being equal, then a lot of times, then you'll see it. But that's at the very high level.
Right.
You can be in a gym full of jiu-jitsu players and see every single shape, size. I had a buddy that I used to train with in Charlotte. Shout out to Sunshine, buddy of mine, Steven Hernandez, who, when I first met him, we were both training at a gym down in Charlotte, and he was fat, but he was fucking good. And I said to him, I was like, man, why don't you lose some weight? Like, do you know if you lost like 30 pounds, like how much better you could be? And he said, yeah, but if I lose this gut, they're going to be able to wrap their legs around me and close their guard. And I was like, you fucking genius. Like, you evil bastard. You are using your fat belly as an advantage so guys don't pull a closed guard on you. And I was like, see, only in jiu-jitsu can you do that and get away with it and it actually be a feasible idea, you know? So, yeah, I think jiu-jitsu, as far as a martial art, is a great equalizer, you know?
And, you know, like I said, back to that growth mindset, it will help everything else in your life. And really, not just the growth mindset, but the warrior mindset. I think the warrior mindset is really what helped me and allow me to grow as a man, as an individual. Just knowing that pain, right? It changed my relationship with pain. You know, pain used to be a thing to be avoided at all costs, right? I remember, like, I don't have any hair. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing a hat, but I don't have any hair. And I remember if I used to, like, bang my head on something or stub my toe on something, like, it could ruin my day. And now it's barely even an afterthought. Like, sometimes if I really kick something hard, I'm like, ow, 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 for about 5 minutes, but then it's, you know, no big deal. And, you know, the relationship with pain. And here's one thing I found that was really interesting, especially when I was working, right? Because when I was working a job that I hated, every day just seemed like it was drab. I was just one thing to the next. There were no highs, there were lows, but there were never like great days. There were just okay days and there were crappy days. And it just seemed like to drag on. Well, when I started doing jiu-jitsu and I was walking around sore like the entire day, it changed it. It changed my relationship with time, because, you know, you can't just skate your way through something when you can barely walk, right? You understand each of those, every single step, and it makes you kind of more cognizant of the life that you're living and the time that you're wasting doing something that you hate.
Right.
So,
that's why I feel like that struggle is important, and that struggle can be a lot of things for a lot of people. It can be the person who's a first timer in the gym feeling sore for the first few days and not allowing that soreness to stop them from going back. And you know, it's when you are sitting at your office job looking around the cubicles at all the fat, lazy pieces of shit that are in there, and you look around and you're like, you know what? They didn't do what I just did last night. And you get that edge right away. Like, mentally, you're like, I'm better than all of this. And even though it may be your job and you still have to do it, you get that release like you talked about. You get that escape. You get that opportunity to make yourself a little bit better by just putting yourself uncomfortable or making yourself a little uncomfortable every day. And I just think that it's so important. Everybody says, oh, I want to get comfortable. I'm like, well, why would you want to do that? Yeah. Like, what's going to happen to you when you get comfortable? You know what? Like,
there's really nothing that's accomplished inside of comfort, right?
No,
I mean, you think of any great thing that's happened. It's not done in comfort, you know. And I consider all of this, you know, all of the physical training, because, you know, jiu-jitsu's fun, but some of the most miserable times I've had in my life physically are, you know, through tough workouts, right? On like fitness tests that we used to do at team training. But when you do that at 6, when you wake up at 5 in the morning and you're at gym at 6 in the morning, and then you're beating the crap out of each other and you're doing killer rabbits till you want to puke or crap your pants, like, and then you go to work and the boss is like, hey, we need to have a talk. It's not that big of a deal,
no.
Right? It's like, it's not going to be any harder than what I just dealt with, right?
And what you put yourself through, like, he's not going to do anything to you that you haven't done much worse.
It's also kind of gives you that little ego boost when, you know, like, you're looking at that boss and he's trying to intimidate you, and you're like, I could choke you out in less than 30
I would
seconds.
Fuck you up. Yeah.
But I don't know. That might be bordering on toxic masculinity, but I don't know. We won't go there. But so I think that's a good gives you a good idea of a little bit of us, right? Mick and myself and what we want to accomplish. So we're going to have a couple different features on this podcast. You can actually check us out online, thegentlemanbadass.com. So from there, we're going to have a mailing list, and we're going to have what's called our bookshelf, right? So exercising your mind is just as important as exercising your body. And so books have been really important for me. And so we're going to highlight one book per podcast. We'll call it, and then we'll put it on our bookshelf on the website. So I think I'll probably do show notes with this information, so it'll be there, but we'll also have links to where you can buy it on eBay. There'll be affiliate links, Amazon, links to buy it on Amazon. There'll be affiliate links, so we'll get a little kickback. You can help support the podcast that way. But the book I'm going to highlight today is a book that really changed my life. I had been training for quite a while, and I had seen quite a bit of improvement from the guy that I was to where I, currently was. But I was still kind of missing some things. And so I read this book. It's called Unbreakable by Tom Shea, a Navy SEAL's way of life. And it's a couple of the tips in there just totally blew my mind. He talks about the internal dialogue and how we can control that, and how our internal dialogue is consistently trying to make us be lazy, right? We're almost genetically designed to be lazy, to save energy. And in the world that we live in today, that is a major problem. So I was going to share one story from this so for those who don't know, Tom Shea was a Navy SEAL sniper, and I believe he was Chris Kyle, the American sniper. He was his instructor.
Yep.
And so Tom Shea was in his 40s, and he was shipped off to Afghanistan, and he had a really strong feeling that he was going to die on this trip. And so he had a couple kids, and he felt that it was important to get his mindset down on paper so that his kids could read it and understand him as a man if for some reason he didn't come home. And so that's what this book started out as, is a letter to his kids, teaching them the lessons that he wanted them to remember. But he did end up surviving, coming back basically unscathed from Afghanistan with some intense stories. So one of the stories I'm going to share in here, it's just a couple pages, but it's one of my favorites in the book, and I think it'll give you some motivation to read this. This is actually a sniper duel. So this is from the book Unbreakable, a Navy SEAL's Way of Life by Tom Shea. Starting on page 231. It says, I quickly moved to the window, and due to the angle of the hill above the window, I had to move inside the window frame. My head was kind of exposed, and as I tried to get my crosshairs on that hill, a round hit the window frame an inch from my face, spraying dirt into my eye. I went down, grabbing my eye, thinking for sure it had been taken out. What a pleasant surprise to find it still there. I moved back to the window and held up a pot I'd found in the room, and bang, a single shot hit the center of the pot. I am a sniper, have been since 1998, and I smiled because I knew I was up against a worthy shooter. 700 yards is a tough shot. He had missed once, but now he knew the distance and wind, and he thought he had me. I grabbed some blankets and pulled them over me. I lay on the floor with my body covered and moved forward slowly in the shadows. I know he would not be able to detect the movement inside the shadows. I inched forward, constantly looking through my scope until I could view the hill. I knew the distance that had already dialed 720 yards into the scope. I talked to myself. Calm down, Tom. Where would you be shooting from? He has to see me perfectly, but be hidden from the hilltop SEAL element. He is smart, so where would I be? Work it out. I concentrated on those words and worked the terrain with my scope. Then I saw a flash. Well, shit, there he is, I said aloud. I could see his weapon's barrel, so I concentrated on relaxing my eyes to let the image clear. Then I saw his back and head and right arm. I took a breath and closed my eyes. All the training at sniper school and all those rounds I had fired over those years kicked in. I opened my eye to look at the wind. I could see it moving from left to right at about 3 miles per hour. The mirage was kicking. I closed my eyes and took another breath. With them still closed, I released the safety. As I opened them, I adjusted my aim to compensate for the wind and released my breath slowly. Suddenly, I thought of my kids and my wife, and I thought of that connection, far away, so far away, when I was not this man covered in dust, bullets flying everywhere, my men fighting for their own lives. I blinked, looking at the sniper, looking at my window, not knowing, and I said, do your best, fuckhead. Try to kill me, because here it comes, buddy. I remember the last things in me. My wife, so sexy, my sons, so strong, my daughter, so everything. I slid the last inch forward where I would be exposed for a split second, then I squeezed. Time froze. Damn it, if you're death, come on. If you're all the things I have done badly, come to claim me, then bring it. If you're the blackness of the Shea clan, then so be it. I know my bullet is going to kill you. Why is it so fucking slow? At least I died killing you, so your kind will never kill my family or my men. Then I saw a blood splash on the rock behind his head, and all of a sudden my right eye was in pain, and I heard a smack on the ground. I rolled away from the window and grabbed my face. Oh shit, I recall thinking. I recall just holding my eye, afraid to bring my hand down. I didn't have any pain outside the initial shock I felt. Then I thought, lying here not shooting while my men are fighting for their lives is sort of selfish. So I rolled over onto my hands and knees and pulled my hand away. Holy shit, no blood. I laughed to myself. I looked at the ground where I had lain to take the shot and saw a round embedded in the dirt. Right there, right where my head had been. He'd had me dead to rights, but he'd been too slow. What a chump. I smiled, bent down, and twisted the bullet out of the ground. Then I dropped it in my pocket. I recall thinking it would be a great necklace for Stacy. The things you say to yourself in combat are funny. Funnier still is when you believe in yourself too much. Funny or not, I knew it right then. The shift for me, what this whole book is trying to capture, was right then. That was my adamantine moment. I was unbreakable because of my connection with my men, my weapon, the air, the whole body fucking mess, the whole bloody fucking mess my internal dialogue had given me access to. My internal dialogue had given me access to things, all things, to living or dying, to my men, to myself. So once again, that is a passage from Unbreakable, a Navy SEAL's Way of Life by Tom Shea. Great book, lots of great messages. He's got lessons and challenges in there. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I've actually reread it once or twice already. So
That's an intense passage right there.
So that's one feature that we're going to have on this podcast. Another one we're going to do is the workout of the week. And so for the workout of the week this week, I'm going to give you one. It's fairly simple, straightforward, but I did it. I try to do this one maybe once a month because it's intense enough that it keeps that cardio up. So what you're going to do is on the VersaClimber, you're going to need a VersaClimber. You're going to go 100-foot sprints and 10 burpees. So you're going to go 100 feet, 10 burpees, and you're going to repeat that 10 times, and you're going to do it for time. So when I did it, I don't remember my exact time, but it was around 17 minutes, maybe a little bit longer than 17 minutes. Not super impressed with that time. I'm sure that if you're in good shape, you can beat that time. But that's going to be the workout of the week for this week is 100 feet sprints on the VersaClimber interspersed with 10 burpees. Do that 10 times for time. So I will put that in the show notes on the website. So if you don't remember or want it written out, you can just print it, copy it, and print it from there. So that'll be the workout of the week. And then a couple other things to go over. Gentleman Badass, thegentlemanbadass.com. You can sign up for our mailing list there. We're going to have some reports and whatnot to send out. Merchandise on the website. We're going to be slowly adding to that collection. We've got some hats up there now and a mindset journal, a couple other things. And then, if you are listening to this on iTunes or any of those podcast platforms, subscribe to us. That helps a lot. We're also on YouTube. Just go search The Gentleman Badass on YouTube and you can find us there. There's also a link on our website. If you're already watching us on YouTube, thank you. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and then there's a like button just down below. Click that like button, punch it. If you've made it this far, I would assume that you like what you're listening to or you hate it. I suppose you can hit the unlike button if you want, but feel free if you hit unlike.
But if you do,
yeah,
I will find you.
Yeah, add your address to the comments.
Yeah.
So like us on YouTube, like this video, and then also go to the website to check out the bookshelf. Mick, do you have anything more to add?
No, just we want everybody to share this as much as possible, especially these first opening episodes that we're going to release. We're actually going to release a few episodes all at once with some great guests, some great content. And then spread the word, share the shit out of this, and we have a message that we feel is important, and we hope that you guys out there help us spread that message.
Yeah, and if you do the workout of the week, feel free to record your stats or even video yourself doing that. Send it our way. Send it through the email. Send us an email with that information, and we'll try to highlight you maybe on the podcast or on the website or the blog, something like that. So Yeah, it's all about getting better together. So with that, we'll go ahead and sign off for the day. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.